So I'm working my way into talking on the radio. First, I want to start off with a prayer just to set the tone of the show. And what it is a prayer of lesson 205. I want the peace of God. The peace of God is everything I want. The peace of God is my one goal, the aim of all my living here, the end I seek, my purpose, and my function and my life. While I abide where I am not at home. I am not a body, I am free. For I am still as God created me. So, as I was thinking about what to talk about today, I wanted to talk about what basically what I have been in the process of doing while studying the course, which is a process of awakening. And there's so many different aspects and so many different phases of this process. And so I opened up the Course in Miracles book, and I opened up to a page, The Inner Shift, which seemed appropriate. And so I'm going to read some of this and then just give my interpretation, what my personal experiences have been. And my show, when I'm on here, is basically going to be that my personal perspective, my personal experience of things, where I'm at in my path, in my awakening. And so I might not be where some people are, or some people might not understand me, but that's all good, because everyone is on their own place, on their own path, and not necessarily going to understand, but I'm here just to be helpful to anyone that will be receptive to my experience, because I know I've gotten a lot from a lot of teachers that share their experience and have helped me in my movement to become more and more awake. And it is a day-by-day process for me. Everything that I see is a message, is an opportunity for me to recognize where I am on my path, who I am in my identity as God, to God. What decisions am I making, and what am I projecting out in the world? Because I do believe everything that I see out in the world and what I feel is a projection of what my beliefs are. And so there's a whole story of my life in everything that I see that reflects who I am. So anyways, The Inner Shift is chapter 21, number 8. As thoughts then... Before I begin, there are these 4 questions that this particular chapter refers to, which is on the preceding chapter. So I want to read those questions off first, so when they refer to these questions, then we'll know what exactly they're talking about. And the questions are: do I desire a world I rule instead of one that rules me? Do I desire a world where I am powerful instead of helpless? Do I desire a world in which I have no enemies and cannot sin. And the last one, and do I want to see what I denied, because it is the truth? And that question is the one that this particular chapter, The Inner Shift, is directing us to answer. Okay, the first sentences are thoughts then dangerous? To the bodies, yes. The thoughts that seem to kill are those that teach the thinker that he can be killed. And so he dies because of what he learned. He goes from life to death, the final proof he valued the inconsistent more than consistency. Surely he thought he wanted happiness, yet he did not desire it because it was the truth and therefore must be constant. So, as I read the first sentences, are thoughts then dangerous? To bodies, yes. And so, being dangerous to a body would mean that a thought can be dangerous to the experience of a body. I can't think of anything else that would make a thought dangerous to anything. I recognize that a thought can't be dangerous to spirit, because a thought cannot be threatening to spirit, because in the realm of spirit, the only thing that's projected, the only thing that's recognized is love. So if there's such a thing as a thought in the realm of spirit, it would not have any effect on spirit. But to a body, it would definitely be something dangerous to the experience of a body, which would be, especially, it would be ego thoughts that are attack thoughts, that are victim thoughts. So those kind of thoughts would definitely be dangerous to the body. So the first two sentences set it up about these thoughts. Then it goes on to say, the thoughts that seem to kill are those that teach the thinker that he can be killed. And so any thought that is an ego thought is a thought that will seem to kill. And by kill would mean it would endanger his identity as a body. And by saying that he, the teach that he was taught just is really explaining that coming in to this world, that we did not know this thinking, this whole mechanism of thinking, but as a body, we had to learn this method of thinking outside ourselves to identify us as that separate entity that we were born as. And so any type of thought can be a thought that would kill this identity, because this identity is all about survival. So any potential thought can be a thought that can kill. And so the paragraph goes on and says, and so he dies because of what he learned. So he dies to the spiritual identity of who he is, because anything that is learned is a death to the spirit, because the spirit is not anything that is learned. It is an existence. It is a state of being. It's a state of who we are. So just the mere fact that we are on this earth and we are learning something, which a thing is something outside of us, or we learn something about our body. Our body is a material thing. So, as it says, and so he dies because of what he has learned, means that we learn that we're separate, we learn that we're a body, and we learn the world around us is separate from who we are. He goes from life to death, is what it says. The final proof, he valued the inconsistent more than constancy. So, what this tells me, that the inconsistent are the searching outside of us to what we think is valuable, what's going to complete us. And so one day it's a relationship, the other day it's money, the next hour it's food, next hour it's something to wear. It's all of these things outside of us that we believe are going to be our completion or some value, and all of these things are inconsistent. And consistency would reflect what the spiritual truth of our beingness is, like order. Order is constant. 1 + 1 = 2, no matter what. Harmony is constant. You play a guitar, and harmony has certain rules. How many notes are going to be played in order will give you harmonious sounds. And happiness, love, those spiritual qualities are always constant. Okay, the paragraph goes on and says, surely he thought he wanted happiness. And that is what the ego does. The ego thinks that happiness is outside of him. The ego thinks he knows what is going to make him happy. The ego's function is to try to find peace, trying to find happiness outside of himself. Yet he did not desire it because it was the truth, and therefore must be constant. So, happiness, being the spiritual nature, cannot be desired by the ego because it is truth. Because the ego does not know what happiness is. Happiness is a function of the spirit, and the ego cannot even comprehend and does not even know the spiritual quality of happiness is, because it's looking outside itself and it's looking for things that represent happiness, but the things never will bring that happiness. Okay, so the second paragraph, I'll read it like halfway through because it's kind of a long one. Second paragraph is, the constancy of joy is a condition quite alien to your understanding. Yet if you could even imagine what it must be, you would desire it, although you understand it not. The constancy of happiness has no exceptions, no change of any kind. It is unshakable as the love of God for His creation. Sure in its vision as its creator is in what He knows. Happiness looks on everything and sees it is the same. It sees not the ephemeral, for it desires everything to be like itself and sees it so. Okay, so at the beginning of the paragraph, the constancy of joy is a condition quite alien to your understanding. And it was something that I explained at the end of that last paragraph, that the condition of joy, which is a spiritual function, is a spiritual reality, cannot be understood by the ego. And the next sentence pretty much verifies it and says, yet if you could even imagine what it must be, you would desire it, although you understand it not. And and I can relate to this paragraph, because in my past I was reading a lot of Joel Goldsmith, and over and over again he would talk about spiritual realities and the in the realm of spirit and the truth of spirit, because that's where he dwelled in. And I would understand this stuff intellectually, but I could never really embody it. I could never really feel it at all. And it's only when I started studying the Course and removing the blocks that those realizations of the reality that there is another realm other than the ego realm that I could only look from started being realized by me. And so that's when I could actually see two distinct ways of being. So like it says, you would desire it although you understand it not. I did want it, but I didn't know what it was, and I couldn't get there. Okay. The constancy of happiness has no exceptions, no change of any kind. And to me, that spiritual realization, that spiritual beingness, is a constant state of happiness. It's my recognition of everything has that edge, has that glow, has that feeling of happiness, as that gratitude as happiness. And it doesn't change as long as I'm in that holy instant, or that Christ consciousness, or that Christ vision. The projection of that Christ that I have in me is, I see the world as the Christhood, as the intelligence and order and beauty that it is. It is unshakable as the love of God for His creation. And when I do get into that experience, it could be unshakable, but I've got a long way to go to constantly feel that. For me, it's an experience of practice and moving in and out and in and out. But I can imagine the love of God, that realm is like I was saying, really is order and unshakable, just like 1 + 1 = 2. It's like impossible for it to be anything other than the love of God for His creation, because I mean, it's the very essence of our existence is that intelligence and order that God is. It can't be any other way. Okay, so it goes on. Sure in its vision, let's see, sure in its vision as its creator is in what He knows, Happiness looks on everything and sees it is the same. It sees not the inferior, kind of a new word for me, but I looked it up before I got online, and it's something temporary, passing. It's nothing permanent. It sees not the ephemeral, for it desires everything be like itself and sees it so. And it's kind of like just what I was saying, that gift of projection that God has given us to create our own reality is what this is explaining. It is explaining that as we are that happiness, and we recognize that happiness not only as us, but as the whole world, is that spiritual reality of happiness. We see ourselves and project that out, just as God has seen us and projected our reality of our reality of us. Okay, so I'll read off the last couple sentences here of paragraph number 2 of the inner shift. Nothing has power to confound its constancy, because its own desire cannot be shaken. It comes as surely unto those who see the final question. The sentence that said nothing has power to confound its constancy, because its own desire cannot be shaken. So how this reads is the constancy, the desire of the constancy cannot be shaken. So looking at this, it has to really want to try to say something different, because how can constancy have desire? So if something has some kind of desire, it to me has some kind of movement, some kind of power, some kind of force to maintain, to keep together what it is, and so that to me would really define what the desire is. Its desire is the constitution of what this constancy is made up of, and constancy cannot be shaken, because constancy by its very nature cannot be something different. Okay, so it comes as surely unto those who see the final question is necessary to the rest. And once again, the final question is, and do I want to see what I denied, because it is the truth? Okay, so we see that final question is necessary to the rest. I want to see what I denied, because it is the truth. And so it's basically a choice between spiritual recognition, spiritual beingness, and ego beingness, that we do desire the truth, and we do not desire our thoughts, our thoughts that are dangerous to our bodies. And as peace must come to those who have to peace and not judgment. Judgment is a whole ego world. Okay, so I'll read the third paragraph and I'll break it in two also, because this third paragraph is a long one also. Reason will tell you that you cannot ask for happiness inconstantly. For if what you desire you receive, and happiness is constant, then you need ask for it but once to have it always. And if you do not have it always, being what it is, you did not ask for it. For no one fails to ask for his desire of something he believes holds out some promise of power of giving it. Okay, so I'll stop there and go over the first couple of sentences here. Okay, the start of the paragraph 3 says, reason will tell you that you cannot ask for happiness inconstantly. And what I get out of that is happiness is oneness. Happiness does not have different forms. It can be experienced in different situations. It can be experienced in different ways, but happiness is not inconsistent. There are no different types of happiness, as happiness is a spiritual essence, and because it's a spiritual essence, that it is spiritual truth, and so it cannot be inconstant. Okay, so it goes on and says, for if what you desire you receive, and happiness is constant, then you need ask for it but once to have it always. Okay, so for me, the key is in this first part of the sentence. It says, for if what you desire you receive. And the you that is here is the lowercase y, the lowercase u. And actually, I'm sorry, I would say that this would be a higher case u, would be the spiritual realization of you. If you're asking from that spiritual realization of you, then you need not ask for it but once to always have it. If I ask for happiness as the small lowercase u, then I'm going to be asking for happiness outside of myself in different things, different places, different people, and all of that. And there is no way that is going to be constant. They're going to give me everything but happiness, because in order to really have that true happiness, you have to be in that spiritual realization, Christ consciousness. And then, like it says here, then you need ask for it but once to have it always, because you can't have it as an ego mind with ego thoughts. Okay. Next sentence is, and if you do not always, being what it is, being eternal, being spiritual is basically what it is, you did not ask for it, which is the lowercase u. And if you, lowercase u, do not have it always, being what it is, being spiritual, the ego asking for something spiritual. You did not ask for it because you don't know what it is, and you're asking for something that you thought was happiness, but something that's spiritual, but you did not ask for it at all. You couldn't ask for it at all. The ego does not even know what it is. How can it ask for something? It doesn't even know what it is. Okay, next sentence. For no one fails to ask for his desires of something he believes holds out some promise of the power of giving it. This kind of, for me, goes in line. In order to give something, you have to have some power over it in order to give it. In a spiritual sense, the more you give of your spiritual nature, like the more love you give, the more you're going to have. But in the in the ego sense, the giving is basically for receiving, and giving is for manipulation and for control, to for guilt, making somebody feel guilty. I gave you this, and you got to do this for me, and so on and so forth. Okay, next question is: he may be wrong in what he asks, where and of what. Yet he will ask because desire is a request, and asking for and made by one whom God itself will never fail to answer. I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of the paragraph. God has already given all that he really wants. Yet what he is uncertain of, God cannot give, for he does not desire it while he remains uncertain, and God's giving must be incomplete unless it is received. Okay, so the sentence, he may be wrong in what he asks, where and of what, which is asking amiss, asking for spiritual qualities of peace, happiness, but he's wrong in what he asks for, in where he thinks it's going to come from, and where it's going to come from, and what's going to come from it. Next sentence goes, yet he will ask because desire is a request, and asking for, and made by one whom God himself will never fail to answer. And what this sentence is telling me, that it is done to you as you believe. Whatever you desire, whatever you request, will come from a belief that you have. And the world will reflect your beliefs. It will reflect how you see the world, and it will give you the reality that you're asking for. And like it says here, because desire is a quest, and asking for and made by the one whom God himself will never fail to answer. And that is what once again, what God's gift to us is projection, and in a ego kind of way. We will project our reality and create our reality as we believe who and what we are. And so the next sentence is, God has already given all that he really wants. What I believe is, God has already given all that is to me, to to everyone, to the world. All that is real, God has already given. And God has already given to me all that I really want. But what I realize is in my ego, separate mind, do not know and not aware of what I really want. If I'm thinking from the ego point of view, I think I want material things. I think I want special relationships. I think I want things that'll give me peace, but and that come through ways of altering my consciousness. Where I used to have some drinks or whatever. Some people use sex or whatever. And thinking that's what he really wants. But God has already given everything that I really want. I only really want peace. Only really want happiness. I only really want joy. All I really want is purpose. All these things are already who I am. Okay, so the next sentence is, yet what he is uncertain of, God cannot give, for he does not desire it while he remains uncertain. And God's giving must be incomplete unless it is received. So, God cannot give anything that is uncertain, which means anything that is not truth, anything that is not constant. Can't give anything that is not spiritual. A spiritual reality is not uncertainty. Only love is real, and that is not uncertainty. Fear is uncertainty, and fear is not real. And God is not going to be realized and in fear, in uncertainty, and in completeness. So, go on to paragraph number 4, and which is a short one in this inner shift topic in chapter 21. You who complete God's will and are his happiness, whose will is powerful as his, a power that is not lost in your illusions, think carefully why you do not have yet decided how you would answer the final question. Your answer to the others has made it possible to help you be already partly sane. And yet it is the final one that really asks if you are willing to be wholly sane. So, I'm going to go back and I'm going to read the first 3 that have made it possible to help us already be partly sane. And then we'll read the last one. That will really ask if you are willing to be wholly sane. Okay, so here are the questions. Do I desire a world I rule instead of one that rules me? I think most people would say yes. And what has always ruled me in the past was my ego, was my body. My body would rule me, and if I feel a certain way, then that's the way my day went. Or I have a headache, then that's the day my way went. And the ego would tell me I'm a victim. That's the way my day went, and so on. Okay, and so the next question was, do I desire a world where I am powerless instead of helpless? and that really would speak to me more of believing in outside influences by being a victim of the world, um, which would give me the feeling of helplessness. Um, like outside the world would be like, okay, there's weather disasters, people that are experiencing floods or different things like that. There is an opportunity to be powerful in those situations instead of helpless, and all of that is based on your belief of who you really are. And if a person has that belief in the Christhood, that he can really view his world any way he really wants to, then he's a man that can't be shaken in worldly affairs, in just different worldly disasters, or just the world around us, like a job or whatever. Am I helpless because my boss doesn't want to give me a raise? Am I helpless in a relationship if someone wants to leave me? That's the world outside. Am I helpless, or am I powerful? And then the next question is, do I desire a world in which I have no enemies and cannot sin? And so a world like that would not be an ego world at all, because the ego by nature has enemies, because there are in the ego reality, there are those that have and some that don't have. There's that scarcity conscience. There's only so much good to go around, and I got to get mine. I got to protect mine, and somebody always has mine. And also it asks, do I desire a world in which I cannot sin? And sin to me is nothing but guilt. And sin points out guilt in as so far as separation. To be separate, what I have experienced is automatically I'm guilty by just being separate. Because by being separate, then I identify with my ego, with my body. And there is no way I cannot feel guilty about myself not being able to look good enough, or have enough money, or feel guilty about not being happy, about just my whole state of the beingness of separate. I feel guilty because I can't control my reality. So there's got to be something wrong with me. And if there's something wrong with me, I take it personal. So I got to be guilty. And to me, that's what sin is for me in my experience and in my perspective. Okay, and so the last question is, and do I want to see what I denied because it is the truth? Okay, and so let's go back, and I'll read this again since we have a fresh remembrance of these questions. You who complete God's will and are His happiness, whose will is powerful as His, a power that is not lost in your illusion. Think carefully why you have not yet decided how you would answer the final questions. And so I think the very first part of this set, which is you're completing God's will, and you are His happiness, and you are powerful as Him, and you're not lost in your illusions. All those would be the answers to those first three questions. And then think carefully why you have not yet decided how you would answer the final question. You answer to the others has made it possible to help you be already partly sane. And yet, it is the final one that really asks if you are willing to be wholly sane. And once again, and the question is, and do I want to see what I denied because it is the truth? And by accepting the ego, anything the ego, we're denying the truth. It's a refusal, ego thinking, ego identity, body identity, all of that is a refusal of a separate identity. The truth is us being willing. Well, we are the truth, and we recognize the truth if we are willing to give up the false identity of separateness. Is what I get out of that. Okay, the last paragraph of the inner shift is, what is the holy instant but God's appeal to you to recognize what He has given you? Here is the great appeal to reason, the awareness of what is always there to see, the happiness that could be always yours. Here's the constant peace you could experience forever. Here is what denial has denied, revealed to you. For here the final question is already answered, and what you ask for given. Here is the future now, for time is powerless because of your desire for what will never change. For you have asked that nothing stand between the holiness of your relationship and your awareness of its holiness. Okay, so the first sentence, what is the holy instant but God's appeal to you to recognize what He has given you? And this is a form of a question. And what it is saying, that we finally recognize our divinity, is what the holy instant is. The experiencing of the holy instant is always there. All of the components, all of the whole process, it's all whole, perfect, and complete only of our realization of it, of like what he says, as what He has given you, and what He has given us is what we experience as life, and it's only through this awareness of life that we can experience the holy instant. What I've come to believe, that awareness is that life. The body is not what is alive, or that constitutes life. I believe that it is awareness. Awareness is always the constancy of what he is talking about through the whole chapter. And that is what truly, as God has given us the opportunity to experience, to recognize, and to be aware. To me, that's the real gift, is the awareness. And if we kind of be aware of all of these gifts, then how are we going to give thanks for it? How are we going to recognize it? How are we going to experience it? And so the next sentence is, here is the great appeal to reason. The awareness of what is always there to see. The happiness that could be always yours. And I think I've heard too much define what that whole thing was already, and it's appeal to reason. And where else is reason experienced if it isn't through awareness? Even goes on to say the awareness of what is always there to see. So our spiritual essence, our spiritual truth, our God's world manifest as our spiritual reality is always there to see. And just like the first sentence indicated, it's our recognition. It's our recognition of all that is. It's our recognition of all that is real. It's all there for us right now in every instant, just waiting for our recognition that comes through our desire for it, our willingness for it. I wish it was something that I could snap my finger and boom, I have it. But that's the way it. If I get to the spiritual awareness, that's the way it really simply is. But I've got blockages still that I've got to get through before I can do that. Okay, so. And also goes to the happiness that could always be yours. And I do believe that. I do believe that. Okay, so the next sentence here is the constant peace you could experience forever. As just a continuation of our recognition of what already is and what's always has been there and what always will be. And another thing he's saying here is the constant peace you could experience forever. By saying that, he's saying that we are eternal. It's not that we can experience this when we're aware as a body, but as our awareness of eternity, that we can experience that peace. That we are not bodies, we're not mortal. There isn't a beginning and an end in spiritual reality. It is forever. So the next sentence. Here is what denial has denied, revealed to you. And so this is the whole first part is the answer to the last question. The last question is, and do I want to see what I denied? Because it is the truth. What I denied is this whole first part of the sentence, and I'll read it again real quick. What is the holy instant but God's appeal to you to recognize what He has given you? Here's the great appeal to reason, awareness of what is always there to see, the happiness that could be always yours. Here is the constant peace you could experience forever. Here is what denial has denied, revealed to you. For here, the final question is already answered, and what you ask for, given. And so, in this final question, the three previous questions are answered with the last question. And what it is our denial of the truth, the denial of our spiritual identity, the denial of the reality of love, especially the denial of the reality of love as ourselves, are the things that we have denied. And once we stop denying the truth, then the truth will be revealed to us, as us, and for us. It'll be one with us. We will be one with it. We would be home in that oneness. There would not be that separation of the spiritual qualities with our identity, because we would be that, and that would be us. So the last couple sentences will go, here is the future now. For time is powerless because of your desire for what will never change. So in the nowness, in right now, if in this spiritual consciousness there is anything, we do not want anything else, because we have everything. Not only, we have everything right now, but what this is saying is that we have that realization of everything right now. This is it's a recognition of the holy instant. The first sentence is, what is the holy instant? But God's appeal to you to recognize what He has given you. And the only time that can be possible is right now, and because there is no other time. And the very last sentence is, for you have asked that nothing stand between the holiness of your relationship and your awareness of your holiness. That you know and realize that awareness is life, and this is my identity. This is the only thing that I really want. All I want is awareness. I want more awareness of who I am. I want more blockages removed so I can keep being more aware. And that is my purpose with this course is knocking the blockages down and be aware of the holiness of myself and my brothers and this thing called life. So anyways, it looks like my time is up. I hope you guys got something out of it, and I do hope that I have been helpful today. And I will hand the mic back over to Lynn.
Hey, alrighty, Tom. Thank you very much. Beautiful presentation.